Okay, in lesson 8, we're going to look at the storm scene. We talked a little bit today about the storm scene. Um, I think we have to think about nature and what nature represents for Lear here. Also, the idea of the storm itself as a setting, to be on the heath, without protection, without any kind of way to save yourself from the elements. And Lear's rage, his anger, his calling, he's called on the gods and nature throughout the play, but now he's demanding that they bring their fury down. And what we see is this change in register, this unbelievable amplification of his curses, his language at the pitch, the height of poetry for me anyway. I find this really engaging and rageful, but also in the storm scene he shifts register constantly, really demonstrating his mind itself being in the tempest. I think later he said the tempest of the mind. I think I was reading a critic that said, for the Jacobean audience, the storm itself could indicate a kind of, in the past, storms were the gods themselves communicating, bringing down punishment. It's the voice of God. But here in this play, even though Lear keeps calling out to the heavens, and the heavens do pummel down, there is a conspicuous absence of any kind of divinity here. So let's take a look. Blow winds and crack your cheeks. Rage, blow. And the rage, that for me is of course the lightning and the thunder. The image of Lear screaming up to the sky. That really is captured right away in those first few lines. You cataracts and hurricanes spout till you have drenched our steeples, drown the cocks. You sulphurous and thought-executing fires, vaunt couriers to oak-cleaving thunderbolts, tree-splitting, singe my white head, and thou all shaking thunder, smite flat the thick rotundity of the world, just with sound, flatten the world. Crack nature's mold. Destroy nature itself. And here I see very much the fantasy of a weak man, the fantasy of power. He used to be king. His words could kill, bless, divide kingdoms, banish. And now he's almost in an idle way, almost just calling up. Nature's doing what it's doing anyway. And he is in a very sad way thinking he's participating in it. So that's his first shot at it, and he comes into it later. I've edited it out to really just focus on his screaming up to the sky. Rumble thy bellyful, spit, fire, spout, rain. There's this idea of what's amazing is the fire and the rain that comes from the storm. And he picks up, again, I guess that's the lightning and the rain. No rain, wind, thunder, fire are my daughters. I tax not you, you elements, with unkindness. I never gave you kingdom, called you children. You owe me no subscription. Then let fall your horrible pleasures. He's conflating his life and the storm. So he's saying to nature, you didn't owe me any subscription, you didn't owe me any allegiance. So I'm not going to call you unkind. It's not like you were my daughters who owed me something and turned on me. And I think it's interesting here. he's not distinguishing. I mean, even though he's realized he's done Cordelia wrong, I think it's important that he says daughters. I mean, I think he means Goneril and Regan, but I think he really maybe means everyone. They just haven't done what I asked. Again, that pathetic voice, that sadness, that self-pity. Then let fall your horrible pleasure. Here I stand. Now he describes himself. Slave. He's poor, sick, weak. Key. Despised by whom? By everyone. By some. You know, the play can be divided between the characters that love and hate Lear. But he perceives he's been hated. He perceives rejected again. It's pathetic. It's sad. It's so sad. But it speaks to his self-mythologizing. And yet I call you, servile ministers, that have with two pernicious daughters joined your high engendered battles against a head so old and white as this. So now he turns and he says, oh, nature, with my daughters against me. Against a head so old and white, mine. Oh, it's foul, it's wrong, it's wrong. And then comes this infamous line. I'm one. I am a man more sinned against than sinning. I haven't hurt anybody. I don't violate the rules of the holy rules. They sinned against me. Those people go against me. Here we have paranoia. Lack of responsibility. You know, Goneril says, I think Goneril Regan say of him at the end of Act of 1-1 that he doesn't know himself. I mean, again, it's here. Here, he doesn't seem to know himself. I've cut out of this scene Kent's entrance and his encouragement to get Lear and the Fool into cover. And I cut it out just to focus on the relationship of the Fool and Lear here. But one of my favorite lines is cut out. I'm just going to write it here. My wits, so Lear says, my wits begin to turn. He says to the Fool, how dost, my boy? Art cold? I'm cold myself. And this is when he's just a little bit calmer from the previous, howlings. No, howlings are at the end of the play. This is more, screaming, fantasy of power, thinking he can say something to nature, that he can be involved in its punishment, his resentment at being punished. But when Kent's trying to reason with him, I love these lines. My wits begin to turn. He knows he's aware the madness is coming out. And he shifts again register to that terrible intimacy, that simplicity that Shakespeare can bring as well. It doesn't all have to be this advanced language, vocabulary, imagery, devices, extended metaphor. No, sometimes it can be as simple as, how dost, my boy? Just even that idea of my boy shows me a close, and to say, are you cold? I'm cold. And then just hearing Kent has allowed him to, okay, I gotta get some shelter. I think within the madness of the storm, there are many, many layers. I stole one of the songs of the Fool just to show how he's behaving. Again, what does the gentleman say in the previous scene about what the Fool's doing? He's labors to outjest his heart-strung injuries. Labors to outjest. The Fool's trying to cheer him up, save him. And, you should think about, it's in the storm scene that we last see the Fool. The Fool stops being here. He that has and a tiny little wit, with hey ho, the wind and the rain, must make content with his fortune fit, for the rain it raineth every day. These lines, this song, was in one of my favorite plays, Twelfth Night, one of Shakespeare's comedies. And I don't know what to make of that. But there are echoing lines in this play from his other plays, and they are recontextualized. The comedy of Twelfth Night turns into this haunting counterpoint in the storm scene. This isn't a joke about, okay, some days it rains all the time, you just have to kind of cheer up and be okay with it. Here, in this context, in this dark, hollow emptiness, in this rejection, in the horror that is before us in this play, this is a very different context. And I wonder again, why would Shakespeare echo Twelfth Night? What is he trying to do there? I don't know. He listens, Lear. True, my good boy, come bring us to this hovel. So he's accepting. This is when he's okay with going in. He's now said, my wits become to turn. I'm cold myself. And the fool gives this absolutely amazing speech to the audience. And it's one of an upside down world. An upside down world in a backwards time. And the images of contradiction are perfect for thinking about the fool, because they're seemingly contradictory, but there's actually a deeper idea, I think, in all of it. This is a brave knight to cool a courtesan. I guess a courtesan, someone who is accompaniment, kind of a host. I think there's an implication of sexual hosting there as well. And the idea of cooling is almost, I guess, to tame that lust. I mean, that's the way I read it anyway. And he says, I'm going to speak a prophecy. And I think the fool's prophecy is for me, an amazing moment. When priests, so this is a future time, okay, there's going to be a future time, and this time, priests are more in word than matter. So priests are paying more attention to the actual language they use than the things they do. When brewers mar their malt with water, so when brewers are destroying their beer with water. In the same time, when nobles are their tailors' tutors, when aristocrats teach their tailors, or just their servants in general, again, servants all over this place, service. When no heretics are burned, so no one who goes against religion is burned, but wenches, suitors, when these saucy women are the ones chasing for love or marriage, you see, everything's flipped. When every case in law is right. I mean, what a great one. Is this a utopia, perfect world, or just upside down? When no one has debt, nor any of the knights poor, when nobody slanders, when nobody says, when in nobody's mouth are negative and reputation ruining words, when none of that, nor cut posts come to throngs, so nobody's going to come and try to rob you when you're in a big group. And then this is an amazing image. When usurers till their gold in the field. So usurers are people who charge interest on the lending of money. And, by some, including philosophers like Aristotle, or in some religions, certainly in Christianity there's a tension there. In Islam there is one that it's unethical to charge interest. And it's inhuman. So, because money doesn't breed. Animals breed, is the metaphor. So here, usurers are actually trying to grow their money. I mean, that is an amazing image. Literally trying to grow their money. And it's the whores that build churches. It's when a lot of this reminds me of Blake's prophecy. It's biblical language here too. Then shall the realm of Albion come to great confusion. Albion, the mythic name for this nation. There's a great mythic biblical sense to what's being said here. This time we're coming to, when everything is upside down and backwards, some of it may seem utopian, but actually it's going to be a time of horrible confusion. And, is this a prediction? Is this Gloucester's, looking to the stars to see we're in a time of decline? Then comes the time, who lives to see it? So this, if you're alive, it's coming, this time of confusion. That going shall be used with feet. So, well, that's a very strange line, because it will be a time when we use our feet to walk, which that paradox means like it's surely coming. It will come. It's as sure as the fact that I walk with my feet. It seems to me, he's saying. And then this wonderful mystic line. There we have from the mythology of the English, the great wizard Merlin. This prophecy Merlin will make. Remember, Lear takes place in an ancient pre-Christian Britain. And the fool's prophecy is all of this that I'm saying, Merlin's going to say, because I live before his time. It's strange, magical, odd moment, but one of, I think, that really typifies the fool in that, what does he mean? And it's just outside of meaning, but it's close. I can almost grasp it, which isn't it his way of saying everything's coming apart, everything's upside down, it's about to happen, he tells the audience. Everything is going to go the wrong way. And it is for sure. It is for sure. The prophecy that will all come undone is certainly going to happen.